This video summarises the research I did for my mental health campaign. It outlines the direction I took, as well as why, and showing the information I collected in order to start planning and producing materials for my project. This information included the people I contacted, opinions I collected, as well as the style of project I wanted to go for, and how to do it. One of the first bits of research I conducted was a custom font. I wanted to do this just because my whole project's partly about expressing myself, and so I sort of wanted to have my own font just to add to that. I wanted to use the least amount of outside resources as possible, so they was all coming from me. But before I made any definite decisions on it, I decided to have a little look into it just to see how long it would sort of take. I ended up choosing not to go ahead with it just because it did seem to take up a lot of time, because you would have to not only design the characters, but then you would have to tweak all of them individually to make sure they all work properly. So that was sort of like a big project on its own, and I didn't want that to take away from this project. Overall, I don't think it impacted my project as a whole too much, just because the video itself isn't going to have too much custom font in it. If I have text, it will be mainly subtitles, which will be basic font. And as for the posters, I can just adapt a font that already exists, just add little bits here and there if I want to. Another piece of research that I did that I thought would be quite beneficial to my project was contacting charities such as Mind and Young Minds. This was in hope to get them to support me in some way, as well as letting me use their logo to show that, and possibly promote my campaign with just a link or something for social media, just to get some attention. Unfortunately though, it didn't end up going ahead, because I got an email back and they told me that they can't help in projects similar to mine, and the best place to look for information was just on their website. So that wasn't too helpful, as I wanted them to be more directly involved. And then my second choice was Young Mind. Says that unless they're directly involved in a project, they're not really willing to help. So I ended up contacting them either. Obviously this does have a big effect on the project, as I wanted as much of an audience as possible. My contingency plan moving on from that was just to contact educational establishments to get them to possibly promote it to their students. So I emailed head of Passmore's just to see his thoughts on helping me conduct some research, as well as sharing the final video around. They seemed interested originally, the first few emails, and then the contact sort of ceased, and so I left it for a little while and nothing really came back from it. And by that point it was getting pretty crucial that I had the research, because I needed to start planning the animated video. I didn't actually follow them up, which I probably should have done. I plan on re-emailing them probably towards the end of production, just to see if they're willing to show my video still. Along with emailing them again, I will also email other educational establishments just to see if they are willing to promote my video, as well as a team in Harlow College that work mental health and other disabilities. Another important piece of research I did was gathering together my ideas of what I actually wanted to include in the video. Looked through two books, one of them being Understanding Depression, which I saved a big piece of information that describes the symptoms that someone with depression may be feeling. This obviously helps me when animating the video, because it means I can correctly portray what someone is actually going through, which just sort of makes the video more reliable and professional. The second book I looked in was called Coping with Depression. From this I took lots of smaller pieces of information that I want to use to inform the audience. This hopefully allows the audience to take something away from the video, even if the video overall isn't really their type of thing that they would be interested in. They may remember one or two facts that pop up on screen. This is also good for my posters, because I want to have a few facts on them too, for the same reason, because even if the person's not interested in the content on the poster, they may, quickly glance over one of the facts and remember it. On top of that, I just wanted to make sure that my opinions and my views on mental health are generalised enough so that audiences that suffer with problems, and also people outside, can relate in some way because obviously if I make it too personal, it might be more about me than the conditions themselves. To get a broader idea of what people currently know about mental health and to see what they thought about my opinions and views on it, I interviewed a few people as well as did a focus group. I interviewed a different range of people, such as people on the lower end of my student target audience as well as people on the higher end. What I found out is that on the lower end, people don't seem to know much about it. If they haven't had any experience with it, they know very little about it and understand very little if someone's struggling. People said that they aren't taught much about it at all, and if they are, it's on the odd occasion. And when asking whether it should be taught in schools, like should be a mandatory thing, they said definitely, just because this way people understand and be a bit more sympathetic towards these people. These views are very beneficial for my video to make sure I'm steering away from my personal views. I wanted to see what content other people would like to have in the video. One of the most important pieces of information that seemed to come up quite a lot was that there should be a clear point within the video that tells the audience that these mental health problems aren't fake, they're not made up, they are just as real as any physical illness would be. They shouldn't be seen as so negative and attention seeking as some of the online social media portrays them. And so when planning content for the video, I will include some of these important views. In a way, the core piece of research that was done was documenting my experiences and my observations of mental health, and as it was going to be the foundation for the project. What I've noticed about mental health is that over the last few years it's definitely become a more known issue and it's definitely better understood than it was, but at the same time it's not enough. It's not enough when people are still making jokes about it and calling it fake and saying people use it for attention. When I see things like that, I think that something needs to be done to prove these things wrong, make people aware that this isn't what it's all about. It's about people struggling. And on top of this, some of my main observations were obviously in school I struggled, and I know other people struggled, friends and family, and a lot of people didn't pick up on this, including staff and peers, and this made school very hard for me. Again, this is the same for work, and again, no one picked up on it, and being the anxious person I am, I didn't really want to go out of my way to say anything, and the fact that people don't really notice it was a big thing that I wanted to include in the video and the posters, just to sort of show that just because someone's not outwardly saying they've got a problem doesn't mean that they're not struggling. As I am creating an animated video, I thought I would look at existing videos just to get a better idea of what I was going to produce, as well as how to keep my video interesting. The main things I noticed was that a lot of these videos have a lot of colour, and on top of that they're very vibrant colours. I realised this in a video by In a Nutshell. This changed my mind from originally using a dark colour scheme. I thought because of the darker topic it'd be a more fitting theme to have darker colours, but then I realised that people will become more disinterested because of the dull colours. On top of that, some of the videos I looked into had many transitions. It just looks a lot more professional switching from scene to scene this way. It just keeps the video more interesting than a whole load of hard cuts all the time. I tried creating my own transitions. Mine came out very smooth and exactly how I wanted them to. They actually were very similar to the original ones I saw. If I use any text in the animated video, it's going to be very bold. The bolder text will hopefully then stick in the audience's mind. Last video I watched, there were subtitles included, subtitles which opens it up to a wider audience. However, in the video I watched, the subtitles seemed to dart around the screen quite a bit, and so you would never know where to expect them. I think in my video it would be better to keep them in one place, just so it's easy to read. Overall, these features will keep the audience better engaged, which means they are taking in the information from the video, which will hopefully impact their view on this topic, which was the original aim for my campaign. To help promote my campaign, I'm going to create posters to go along with my animated video. So to get a better idea of what I wanted to do, I looked into current posters. Some of the things I liked included busy designs, which links into the whole people with mental health problems having busy thoughts and a lot going on in their mind. I just wanted to have a bunch of words being busy on the page. Again, linking it with this was a poster that had a head taking up the majority of the page. These two ideas could be linked together just to create one poster. If I was to go with this idea, I would go with a more abstract style, because this makes it more unique and interesting. I found posters that had a similar abstract style to them, which is where I got the inspiration for that. Another thing was words and graphics mixed together. I wanted to do something like this because, again, it's creative and something different. To follow a similar style to my video, I was thinking about going with a simple poster design where the whole background is just one or two colours and all the graphics are really cleanly done with, again, a few colours and colours that go together very well. This will hopefully tie the campaign together as one. Another idea I had was the eye taking up the majority of the poster, making it look as if you're looking through someone else's eye onto the world of mental health. These posters should follow a similar graphic style to the animated video, just to ensure that people can link the posters with the video very easily without me having to make it known. The reason I didn't just go for a title on a page with an image and some information is because that's how most basic posters are made, and my theory is if the poster is different, people are more likely to go over and actually have a look at the poster, giving it more attention, and maybe even subconsciously taking in some of the facts on the poster. I watched a YouTube tutorial based around Adobe Animate CC. I did this to teach myself basics of the program, for example what file type to use, different shape tools, the symbol types for the different graphics I used, as well as the shortcut keys. This helped me because obviously I had little idea how to actually use the program, and so it added to my knowledge, meaning I could use it for my video instead of using Adobe Photoshop to animate. This program's better because it's a dedicated animation software, which means that I can produce a better quality video in a shorter amount of time, leaving more time for feedback and changes. After watching this, I did some tests of my own to ensure I could produce what I needed to. On top of this, it got me more familiar with the program itself, and I was better aware of the amount of time I was going to need to produce the different scenes, which meant I had a better idea of the kind of time schedule I was on. In conclusion, because I got less opinions from my target audience as the schools didn't get back to me, it gave me less variety for scenes as I knew less experiences, which might make the video less relatable if I just started to include more personal experience or just personal experiences. And so I decided to keep it more general, just so that other audiences can relate. Towards the end of production, I plan on sharing my video with other educational establishments. This obviously allows me to have a less guaranteed audience, but if I contact enough of them, hopefully I'll get a few that are willing to share my video with their students, which should be hopefully quite a lot of students, even if just 2 or 3 get back to me. As for the books, these allowed me to correctly portray people's experiences, as for example the snippet I got for symptoms of depression allowed me to look into what symptoms other people may get. This again allows it to be more generalized rather than just my personal experience. On top of that, the facts that I collected are obviously correct because they've been checked as they've been published in a book. This allows me to correctly educate people. Similar to my last point, the interviews allow me to gain additional perspectives from other people, so that when planning, I wasn't just putting in my perspectives, I was allowing room for other people's messages and other people's experiences, making it more relatable. On top of this, I wanted to put enough of my life experience in the video to keep it original, hopefully to appeal to people that see it the way I see it, and to understand that it is an important thing the way I think it is. And on top of that, it allows it to still be personal for me, which gives me a passion to want to complete the project to a high standard. As for the video research, I learned that I wanted to make the video quite colourful as opposed to the dark theme I was originally going to go for, and so when planning, I will make sure to keep this in mind, to make sure that there's room to add a decent amount of colour in to keep the audience engaged. And on top of this, it's the same with the transitions. When creating the different scenes, I want to make sure I bear in mind what transitions can go between the videos. So, for example, if one scene which I was thinking of would have a clock in it, then how can I use that clock to create a transition for the next video? And another thing was subtitles. I want to make sure I include enough. When planning, I want to make sure to leave either a space at the bottom for the subtitles, or simply just keep it quite basic, the video quite basic towards the bottom, so that it doesn't matter if it's covered over by some subtitles. As for the poster research, I want to make sure that when planning, I bear in mind these different posters I gathered for inspiration, but also balance it with the project aims and themes. So, for example, to make sure I am still promoting mental health awareness as well as educating people, but still keep it to the creative ideas that I saw in those posters. And then lastly, one of the big things for the project would be discovery of Adobe Animate. This allows me to be more creative when planning, as I don't have to keep to basic animation like I might have previously due to lack of time of producing it frame by frame. Overall, I'm going to use these things to create a professional, relatable mental health awareness campaign.